Hi everyone, I'm Nate.
I'm Sarah.
And today we are going to talk about my experience as a black person in the public school system in Portland.
The whitest major city in America.
Yes, one of our other videos that we will
link up
there.
Somewhere. So in the other video we talked about your experience overall in Portland, but today we're going to talk about specifically in schools. So we both went to public school in Portland.
Yes.
Some of the same schools, all very close to each other. So I feel like it's especially interesting to hear as a white student who went to the same schools, or at least in the same district.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one.
So I know that you went to multiple different schools. So how many schools did you go to in Portland through your grade schooling?
I think I went to 5 schools and then 6 if you count PCC as college.
Yeah. And then
yeah.
I'm curious because I know you bounced around to different kind of modes of schools, different types of schools.
Yes, I did.
So I was curious what was the fewest amount of black students that you ever had school with, and what was the largest amount? You don't have to give me exact numbers if you don't know, but generally.
So the lowest is definitely going to be where I was at in 1st grade through 5th grade, and then I left for half of 6th grade and then came back for another half of 6th grade. And that is Trillium Charter School. If you couldn't guess by the name, this is definitely a white school. So that was the least amount of black people I've ever had in the whole school, and I would say there was maybe 10 of us as a whole.
Yeah.
And this was a K through high school.
Yeah. It is a somewhat small school, but...
It was pretty small, so it was probably about a couple hundred people, but literally 10 black people in the whole school. I know all of their names.
Portland is obviously a very white city, but it's still a very small numbers, especially in central Portland. And
then the most, I can't decide between 2 of the schools, but the most I would guess was probably actually around 50% or so.
That's pretty good.
And that was, that was really good. And I can't decide between 2 of the schools. I think they're about the same exact ratio, so.
And then in high school, what was it?
15?
Yeah, I think that sounds right. When I'm thinking of actually in class, I think 15%.
I think 15%.
Right. Yeah. Which I specified that just because high school is such a formative time of finding out where your next step is after high school, and
our high school wasn't small.
No, it was not small. And it was also when you start, I don't know, exploring yourself a little bit more and what your interests are. A pivotal time.
It was I think it was a pivotal time for sure.
One thing I was curious about, did you ever feel like there's certain expectations on you as a black student? Especially knowing that it was such a white school. And
so do you mean from the teachers or just
the stereotype of that black people are better at sports or better at arts. Did you ever feel the pressure that that was the expectations of you?
Yeah, definitely a bit. I mean, this wasn't in school, but
sorry, Raider's chasing a fly.
I think he caught it, you guys. He caught a fly.
No, Raider, leave it. Raider, no. Raider, leave it.
Leave it.
Good boy. Good boy.
Okay.
Who needs spiders? We have Raider. Oh, we trapped him in here a little bit.
We did.
He can do it.
He did it.
He did it. Okay.
Okay, so
expectations. Yeah.
Expectations.
Did you ever feel expectations as a black student in
a little bit?
Schools?
I mean, definitely not a whole lot. Most of the schools that I went to didn't have sports until about high school.
Yeah.
And so that wasn't even an option. I definitely was often the track coach at one of the schools I went to kept trying to be hey, come try out, and I'm you have never seen me run.
You do have exceptionally long legs though.
I do have very long legs, and I actually was very fast.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, not particularly though. I don't feel I had real strong expectations from anybody. Yeah. I feel that kind of came a little bit more into high school, and it wasn't so much from I guess it's still in school. It was look, all the coaches from my different teachers were hey, you trying out for a blank? And I'm no, I'm doing musical theater.
Yeah. Was there any negative expectations?
I feel like there was definitely a few experiences of like teachers like expecting me not to know stuff or whatever. But I'm not gonna even front in high school. Up until high school, I was a great student. As soon as I got to high school, I was a pretty bad student in the sense that like I did all my classwork, but I didn't do homework. So I don't really know how much of that played a part into it because I'm telling you, I literally didn't do homework at all, like almost none. But
I will say one thing that I noticed when we were at Grant is like, say for instance in the library, there could be two groups of students and they could be making equal amount of noise in the library. And if one group was black students, the other was
white students, they're going to tell the black students to be quiet.
Yeah, and they'll leave the white students alone.
Yeah.
Like for some reason, the expectation that like the black students are the ones that are being disruptive.
I think I only went to the library like 5 times, and one of those times...
I second that.
You guys, I think that this is racist. Correct me if I'm wrong. I go into the library. You have to give them your ID to go into the library. I go back to grab my ID at the end of my library trip. My ID is not there. And I'm like, where's my ID? Like they don't, like, they put them all up on the table, all the black ones up on the table.
Yeah.
My ID is not there. So I'm pretty sure whoever was giving them back to students just gave someone my ID
Been like, this is another black male student.
Without asking for the name or nothing. Just gave him my ID. So that was fun.
Did they replace it?
Yes, and they did it for free because I was not paying for it.
So we know that the students were mostly white.
Yes.
In your schooling. But what about the teachers? Were there any black teachers? Or did you have black teachers, I should say?
I had one black teacher.
Wait, in total?
In total. Wait, yeah, in total. Shout out to Miss Dixon, biology teacher. Yeah, she was the only black teacher I have ever had.
So it wasn't until like your last...
It was like sophomore year in high school, and then she retired the next year.
Yeah.
And she was the only black teacher I've ever had. All my other teachers are white. Or like, I had a Hispanic teacher.
Yeah. One thing too, I was curious of, what about coaches?
All my coaches were black.
I noticed that while I was in high school, and I thought about it, and that it's like the only positions in this school for adults that are black are in the athletics department.
Coach and security.
Coach and security, right. There was, 2 security guards that were black? I think as we left, one of the coaches then became a counselor.
Yes. Oh, I did have a black counselor.
Oh, counselor.
I had Mr. Triplet.
See?
And yeah.
There was one black counselor.
Yes, there was one. But yeah, and then it's really funny though because I did sports outside of school and all of those coaches were white. But I mean, I played baseball, so.
Did you notice this when you were in school, or is it just afterwards?
I didn't think about it until you literally just asked me the question. And I was like, wait.
So your white girlfriend asked.
Wait, you're right. Like all my coaches were black people. There was like one white coach on the freshman football team.
I became very aware of it when I took African American Lit from a very white man. That I was like, I mean, I thought about it before, but in that class, it was like every single class period, I was like, why? And then I'm like, because there's literally no other black teachers. Yep. We had the one black science teacher for a period, like for a time, but there was no black English teachers to teach that class, even if they had wanted to do it.
Yeah, true.
Which, I'm not saying that there's a lack of black teachers. I'm saying that there were none at our school. Like, I'm not saying there aren't enough to hire, which is insane. I'm like, if you are interested...
They're just not getting hired at Grant, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that teacher said that that Trader Joe's is racist because black people don't eat hummus. Specifically because black people don't eat hummus.
Yeah, and they don't serve...
They don't sell collard greens and pig's feet.
Yeah. See, that was...
I've never had pig's feet.
Were you in that class, or did you hear that from
I heard it from you and Claire and...
Yeah. That class, I think I don't know if there were any black students in the class. I just remember there was a lot of white students that would be like, what are you saying? What? But it was a lot of hesitancy because people also didn't... They were like, am I wrong? or are you wrong? I'm like, I don't want to be offensive, but I also feel like you might be wrong.
I then got some of my black friends we went and got hummus from Trader Joe's and ate lunch in his classroom with him there and ate hummus.
Yeah.
Just for fun.
I'm like, wow, black people eating hummus in the wild. Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
What was your experience like with other black students?
So this is a pretty layered response because it has been very like flip-flopped and like in the middle. So basically, like I said, I went to a charter school for 1st grade through 5th grade, basically all white people. So like all of my friends were white, everyone I was surrounded with was white.
Yeah.
And then I went to a school that had more black people in it. And definitely like with some of the kids, like we were friends, we were cool, like, you know, hung out and stuff. But then some of the kids I definitely was like made fun of for being too white and like talking too white and like acting white and like doing white people stuff.
Like
first the way I talk, and then doing like musical theater, being into like comics and stuff. And that was kind of most like that happened. It started in like middle school and like that was weird. So I went back to the other school. And then kind of happened again at my other middle school that I went to. And then in high school, I would say not so much because I think it was a lot easier because it was a bigger school. It was a whole lot easier to just not be around people that
treated you like that,
said things like that. But I definitely still caught the word.
Did you ever feel the opposite, like you automatically connected with people because of the fact that you were both black? For sure. Definitely some people like we just immediately connected because I mean you immediately know you have a joint experience.
Yeah, for sure. And that was obviously like really awesome. Yeah. But definitely the Oreo word was thrown around a lot at me.
Yeah.
If you don't know what that means, it means that you're black on the outside and white on the inside.
I think it's interesting too because I feel like you hear a lot about that kind of experience when people are light-skinned. Like the idea of not being white enough but also not being black enough. And I feel like you don't hear it quite as often, the like internal experience of your personality not being black enough or being too white.
Yeah.
I'm glad you found your people though, because you did.
I have found my people.
And you know what? One other thing I also thought about that as you were talking, it came to my thoughts was another like situation where black students and white students were treated differently, but it was connected to school, but not necessarily in school. It was the fact that, so we had a weird schedule where a lot of students had free periods, so you could leave campus and then come back if you had more classes or your day was done early. And so sometimes students would leave all together and be in like groups of people hanging out at like restaurants or the mall that was nearby. And the security people in those places would bother the students that were black and less likely to bother the students that were white, being like, shouldn't you be in school?
Yes.
Like, I need to see your schedule to prove that you're not supposed to be in school.
I caught that a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but, and I just feel like, to me, when I think about that, they might not think about it in the moment, but I'm like, the implication that you are not, that you don't care about school, that you're flaking on school, or that, like, you are trouble.
Yeah.
While you're watching white students like not have any issues
do the
at
same
all.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, doing the exact same thing.
If you really want to get into it, let's talk about the lighting for school photos, all right?
Oh my gosh.
Huh?
I never thought about.
Turn the flash off.
Turn the flash off.
Turn it off.
You're glistening.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I've got.
That's all we have for today. I hope you like this video.
Yeah, it's like 12 years of schooling to unpack, so there's a lot there.
Right. If you have any questions for me, go ahead and shoot them in the comments. I think you had some really good questions. Good job.
Thank you.
We will see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Another weird wave. Bye.